Welcome back everyone to my channel, which is Certified Business Analysis Professional. My name is Varun Pawar, and so far we have done with the three major knowledge areas, which is the last we have done is elicitation and the collaboration, and before that we have done with the business analysis, planning and the monitoring, and the strategy analysis. Today, we will start a very important knowledge area, which is requirement analysis and design definition. So this is very important. In short, we say RADD. So we'll start with the first knowledge area, but before that, we have to go through what is the requirement analysis and the design definition. So requirement versus the design. Requirements are about what you build, and design is about how you build it. For an example, we have a need that says we need a box. Requirements stakeholder says, okay, I need a box that is made up of a metal. Then when we talk about the design is also known as solution. So don't get confused yourself with the design uh, and the solution. In business analysis term, design is referred as the solution. For an example, if a product manager is giving a requirement and saying we have to make an mobile application, that mobile application would have different roles, different pages, different functionalities, uh, different buttons. So you have handed over this requirement to create a user experience, look and feel. So a designer create a look and feel for that, but and comes up with the design. So that's not basically a design, that's a wireframe. Okay, so design becomes when the solution becomes when all those designs put up into a functional prototype or a proof of a concept. That is basically we tell them as a design or a solution in business analysis term. So don't get confused yourself with the design, right? So here, so when a stakeholder said, I need a hard metal box, so you could come up with a solution. Okay, this can be one of the solution for that, or this could be another, which is a rectangular, and this is a square box. And it could be this, like one side it's a rectangular, other side it's a square. So this is very pathetic, but for your just for your help, I'm just trying to make it clear. But how about if you comes up with a requirement which is a drill down detailed way. For an example, this requirement is, though the need is a box, we come up with the design requirements after doing the elicitation with different stakeholders. So one says, oh, I need a square box with which having length, breadth, and height of 2 meters each. Another would come up with, okay, we need a color of that box should be green. Other said, okay, that is should be made up of a metal. And the other says, okay, weight should not exceed 10 kg. So after the elicitation, we comes up with set of the requirements for a box. Now, so as a business analyst, you have done your analysis and you come up with the three approaches or three solution. One, it could be made up of a iron with a lid, right? Second, made up of aluminium with lid along with the rollers. This way, you could come up with a box made up of copper without lid, but a small opening one side to fill the box. This. So there are different solutions that you come up with, and ultimately for each solution you have to come up with a potential value, the benefits, and then finally one solution is being agreed upon, which finally goes into the release. So now understand the objective of requirement analysis and design definition. RAD describes the task that business analysts perform to structure and organize requirements discovered during elicitation activities and during the activities of this entire knowledge area. So in this knowledge area, we have 6 different activities or a task, and from that, the elicitation also, you do the elicitation within all those activities and create a requirement and specify model and requirements. Both requirements and design are important tools used by business analysts to define and guide changes. The difference between requirements and designs is in how they are used and by whom. One person designs may be another person's requirement. Let's go back to again to the same example where a product manager give a requirement to the designer to create a wireframe of an application with different pages. So designer, for me, for the designer, the requirement from a product manager is their requirement for the design, right? So it's in different perspective can be seen, like one person's design may be another person's requirement. So that's a very layman example I have given you based on the day-to-day's the work you are doing within your organization between the developer, testers, designers, product managers, product owners, and all. So one person design may be another person's requirement. And I hope you are very much clear with the design, solution, requirements, and need. If you are not clear about those, I would recommend you to please read or go through my other videos where I have explained all those. Requirements and designs may be either high level or very detailed based upon what is appropriate to those consuming the information. Uh, assume so in a context you can understand in that way, like we have created a mobile application. We have a different roles. So when you have logged in as an administrator, for administrator, the entire application is open. The administrator can do anything. But if that is a customer, right? For the customers, there are certain pages or certain functions are open, not the entire application, right? So it depends upon the roles and what information or at what level of information you need to expose to the different roles, different users, different stakeholders. So requirement design, and in a similar way, requirements and design may be either high level or very detailed based upon what is appropriate to those consuming the information. The form, level of detail, and what is being modeled are all dependent on the context, audience, and the purpose. Business analysts analyze the potential value of both requirements and the designs. Now, what are the activities that we perform in this knowledge area, which is RADD? The first one is specify and model requirements. It describes a set of requirements or designs in details using analytical techniques. So generally the business analyst use diagrams, matrices, personas, data flow diagrams, and various business models and all in this activity to make it detailed. Specification is basically detailing out the requirement. Model means to use the help of some diagrams or some way of representing the requirement in a visual perspective. So that is basically known as a model. Then we have verify requirements. It ensures that a set of requirements or designs has been developed in enough detail to be usable by a particular stakeholder, is internally consistent, and is of a high quality. Please note that whatever I have marked here in a bold, these are very important to at least memorize pertaining to the task. Specify and model requirement. Remember, use diagram, matrices, personas, DFT, etc. When we say verify requirement, then it is used for our internal purpose to make the consistency and the requirement is of a high quality. So verify requirement in this, if we talk about the software development lifecycle, there we do business analysts do the BAT, that is business and acceptance testing, and here the business analyst go through the acceptance criteria of the requirement and match that acceptance criteria with the solution to verify that whatever the elicitation requirements come from elicitation, whatever acceptance criteria has been put is also matching with whatever is being implemented or designed or not. That verification is done here. Validate requirements. It ensures that a set of requirements or designs delivers business value and supports the organization goals and the objectives. So you can relate it with the user acceptance testing, where we finally, uh, you know, hand over the final solution to the end users, who finally do the user acceptance testing based on the goals and the objectives for which that a solution is being developed. Define requirements, and here we get a final sign off, like they are okay with the solution, and then only that final production happens, or if in terms of the software development, that goes to the release. Define requirement architecture. It structures all requirements and designs so that they support the overall business purpose for a change and that they work effectively as a cohesive whole. So it's a kind of all the list of the requirements goes together, right? As a cohesive as a whole means all requirements should functional dependent. If there is any dependency, all requirements should be implemented together to achieve the objective of the solution. If any of the requirement left behind, may or may not make this solution as a whole, right? So every point, every requirement which is there to fulfill the objective should go together as a whole. Define solution options. Identifies, explores, and describes different possible ways of meeting the need. I hope you understand that when there was a need to create a metal box, so a business analyst come with a three different solution, one with a square box, another with a rectangular box, another with a rectangular plus square box together. So these are the different solutions, right? So design solution options, identify, explores, and describe different possible ways of meeting the need. Analyze potential value and recommended solution. So this is the final task or activity in this knowledge area, which says assesses the business value associated with a potential solution and compares different options, including trade-offs, to identify and recommend the solution option that delivers the greatest overall value. Now here, so these are the tasks, and specify and model requirement. This is the first task that we'll go through in this session. The input for specify and model requirement is elicitation result, and it could be in any stage, whether that's confirmed or unconfirmed. And I hope you have gone through my previous videos in elicitation and collaboration. We have talked about elicitation result. Then once this input goes into specify and model requirement, we get requirements specified and modeled. So specify and model requirement goes parallel to the elicitation and collaboration, and it's a good approach if a business analyst do elicitation and collaboration and at the same time do the specify and model requirement, means detailing out the requirement based on the elicitation result, because then and there if both these tasks go parallelly, then the chances are very high that requirements verified, validated then and there without any discrepancy. But if you go elicitation a different way, and then once elicitation is being done, and then go with a specified model requirement in later stages, there are more chances that whatever the elicitation results or requirements you come with may vary from the solution. So Business analysts try to secure these two activities parallelly so that it's a optimized way of coming to a solution which is with there is means less variation, and the chances of validation and verification is very high. Then we have requirement. So we'll go with this first, and then the other 5 activities will go in another session. Specify and model requirement. Specify and model requirements. So now here we are talking about the requirements. Let's take an example again. We have to create a metal box, and when we have done elicitation with the different stakeholders, we come to a requirement that okay, we need this kind of a lid. Another say okay, we need different form of the paints or colors available. Then one we come up with a different set of the rollers or the tires for that box. Then we we come up with okay, we need the boundaries in different color or different colors. Then another requirement that we've business analyst as a BA we've frozen like okay, the walls of the box should be in this form or in that form. And finally, when the specification, the elicitation is being done, each and every requirement is detailed out, and you have done a modeling. These are basically the models, right? That how the design looks like. This way, the lid, these tires would look like, rollers would look like this, the format of the sides of the wall look like this, the color combination could be look like. These are basically the different models that we represented using a diagrams or represented using some visual representation stuff. And then finally we come up with a solution of the entire set of requirements, which is this. And this in business analysis term, it's known as a design or basically a solution, right? Objectives of this task is objective is to analyze, synthesize, and refine elicitation results into a requirements and designs. Specify and model requirements describes the practices for analyzing elicitation results and creating representation of those results, a kind of a prototypes you can in analogy form you can understand in that way. When the focus of, and these two lines are very important, when the focus of specifying and modeling activities on the understanding the need, the output are referred to as a requirement. So in the previous example we say, so different requirements, different parts of that requirement, we have detailed it out and finally concluded these are the requirements. When the focus of the specifying and modeling activities on a solution, the outputs are referred to as a designs. So if you remember that we have created 3 different solutions, one is square box, one rectangular box, one combination of a rectangular and the square. So that is basically a designs. All business deliverables are referred to as a requirements. In addition to the models used to represent the requirements, this task also includes capturing information about attributes or metadata about the requirements. Attributes or metadata are basically the minute information, uh, very minute information. Uh, for an example, if we talk about if a car manufacturer, let's talk about the car. So minute information would say, okay, the engine is of Honda, or the tires is of Goodyear, or the windshield is of different um, you know brand, or the gear parts, or the axle. So you go in very detailed level. So these are the metadata. Now specify and model requirements, we have different inputs. Guidelines and tools also been considered as input for this, and the important input that we have already discussed, which is elicitation result in any state. So modeling can start with any elicitation result and may lead to the need for more elicitation to clarify or expand upon requirements. Elicitation and modeling may occur sequentially, iteratively, or concurrently. So this line I have already described you, like if you do elicitation and specify and model together, the scope of finalizing the requirements in the solution is high with a less variation. So that's a good approach. Then we have modeling notation and standards, standard templates and syntax to ensure that the right info is provided about the requirements. So modeling notations and standards. So if that is automotive industry, then we have standard templates to fill the information. Generally in automobile industry, we use the matrices to capture the information. We'll talk about the matrices and the diagrams in the next slide. Then modeling tools, software products that facilitate drawing and storing matrices and diagrams to represent a requirement are the modeling tools. In today's term, if you go through draw.io or Miro board, or there are different online application, Figma, where you go and create your own, the use case diagrams, personas, user stories, right? So drawing and storing matrices and diagrams to represent requirement. These are the modeling tools. Then we have requirement architecture. Requirement and interrelationships among them can be used to ensure models are complete and consistent. And this is very important. So interrelationship, as I said, like one requirement could be having a dependency on another requirement. So in order to create a good solution, a complete solution, both these requirements should be goes together with the release. You can't leave one requirement because that's a dependency on another requirement, right? So in this task requirement architecture, we generally look things together as a whole. That way we work. Requirements lifecycle management tool, software products that facilitate recording, organizing, storing, and sharing requirements and designs. This is basically depends upon the organization which tool they are using for recording, organizing, storing. Like in some organization that's Zira, in some organization they use projects, in some organization that is manual, like using the uh, Word or PowerPoint presentations to store, organize, storing information, sharing them with different stakeholders. So different organization a different way and different tools they are using. Solution scope. The boundaries of the solution provides the boundaries for the requirements and design models. So these are the boundaries, like you cannot go outside of that scope. If we have said like, okay, create as metal box. So we have to create a metal box. And after the elicitation, we talked about that should be green, should have rollers, should have lid, or should have the walls painted like this and all. So other than that, nothing should go outside of that requirement. Okay, that if I say, okay, we need a kind of handle to, pull that box, that is out of the scope. That is not in the solution scope, right? A kind of a pulley or lever or something. So once all those inputs you are gathering, you are putting those into activity and in your task, getting help out of all those inputs. And then finally, the requirements and the interrelationships among them can be used to ensure models are complete and consistent. Right? So what are the elements? The first element is model requirements. A model is a descriptive and a visual way to convey information to a specific audience in order to support analysis, communication, and understanding. Right? Models may also be used to confirm knowledge, identify information gaps that the business analyst may have, and identify duplicate information as well. So we have two formats for model. The one is the diagrams and another is the matrices. A diagram is to depict complexity in a way that would be difficult to do with words. Obviously, if diagram is there to represent the requirement or a design or solution, that's a good way that then and there the stakeholders validate those, or if there is any gap, they can tell then and there, rather than going through a lot of statements and words which ultimately lead to nowhere. So visual representation is catchy and that's more user interactive and give a lot of information. Then we have matrices, complex but uniform structure and can be broken down into tables. So an example for this, I would say, so this is a field of study. So just like you, when you work in an Excel, the horizontal and the vertical rows are there. So they have a kind of interrelationship with this. Likewise, likewise we have discussed about the impact and influence diagram. That is another kind of a matrix. Remember? So you can understand this. Field of study, degrees are BSc, MSc, PhD, and some field of study, physics, chemistry, mathematics, computer science. And then it's a kind of numbers being allocated based on the result of any student. And then it's basically at the end, these are the sums. So this is a matrix. And similar matrix is used in different organization, even that is automotive, that is finance, that is IT. So that way we use the matrices. The model categories. So now the model categories are people and roles. And please do note down these many techniques here. These are very important. And in our next slides, or in when we talk about the techniques, if you know all those, if you remember model categories and which techniques used against for each model category, that would be easy for you. So people and roles. So organization model is basically the structure. The hierarchy is being set in an organization, who is the manager of who reports to whom, and who's the CEO and all. So this is organization modeling. Roles and permission matrices. There's a role and permission matrices. The stakeholder list, maps or personas. So these are all in peoples and roles, one of the model category. Then we have rationale, that design, scope modeling, business model canvas, root cause analysis, business rule analysis. These comes in the rationale, that why we are doing this, right? Activity flow, process modeling, use cases, scenarios, and user stories. Capability, the business capability analysis, functional decomposition and prototyping. Data and info, data dictionary, data flow diagrams, data modeling, glossary, state modeling, and interface analysis. All those techniques we will go through in detail when we'll come on a technique sessions. There we will go in detail. But for now, just try to memorize few techniques against each model category, and definitely there would be one or more questions that would come from in scenario based out of these model categories. Now the elements, another element after the model and specify requirement, where we talked about the diagrams and models. Now the another element is analyze requirements. So business analyst analyze the requirement, that anything that must change to meet the business need, anything that should stay the same, any missing component is there, unnecessary component is there, and any constraint or assumption that impact the components. The level of the decomposition required and the level of detail to be specified varies depending on the knowledge and understanding of the stakeholders. Then we have another element which says represent requirements and the attributes. Business analysts identify information for requirements and their attributes as part of the elicitation results. Requirements should be explicitly represented and should include enough detail such that they exhibit the characteristic of requirements and design quality. Various attributes can be specified for each requirement or set of requirements. These attributes are selected when planning for information management. As part of specifying requirements, they can also be categorized according to the schema described in task requirements classification schema. I know you might be wondering, oh, somewhere you have heard this. And yes, of course, this you have heard in core concept model, where now you remember requirements are of different types. Requirement classification schema, where we had talked about the business requirement, stakeholder requirement, solution requirement, transition requirement. For more, I'll put a video somewhere here. You can take a reference from there, check out. Then we have typically elicitations results contain information of different types. So it is natural to expect that different types of requirements might be specified at the same time. Categorizing requirements can help ensure the requirements are fully understood, a set of any type is complete, and that there is appropriate traceability between the types. Right, so this way we have categorized the requirement like these are the business requirement, these are the stakeholder requirement, these are the solution requirement. In solution requirement we have functional and a non-functional requirement, and if there is a temporary requirement, that we categorize in the transition requirement. And this is very important to categorize, because once you categorize, this means you have understood the requirement in detail, and also if there would be any duplicate requirement, that could be analyzed, that could be removed then and there. The final element, that implement the appropriate level of abstraction. So the same example, like if anything is for the tester, so the tester should see their own the information that is important for him. A CEO could see the information that is important for him, like the reports or the high level figures of the stats. So this way, like a designer should see the information that is important for him. So that is a kind of abstraction, like we are not exposing every information to every people, just like for admin role we are based on the roles we are exposing the information. And so similar way, requirements, here the level of abstraction of a requirements varies based on the type of requirement and audience for the requirement. Not all stakeholders require or find value in the complete set of requirements and model. Yes, very true. It may be appropriate to produce different viewpoints of requirement to represent the same need for different stakeholders. Viewpoints, you can understand a viewpoint is basically a gateway. For an example, uh, for a tester, there is a template for a tester, because a tester might need just the scenarios and not all the information related to the application. So we have created one viewpoint for the tester to go in and check out the information important for him. Similar way, we have created a viewpoint for the um, uh, like the developers or the designers or the product manager or product owners or CEO, different stakeholders, so that they see the information that is for their uh, which they find interest in, or which is for their purpose, and not all the information. We'll talk about the viewpoints later on in this knowledge area. Till then, just hold for just in just for to understand it, you consider this is basically a gateway for the information that is importance for based on the stakeholders, roles, and personas. BA takes special care to maintain the meaning and intent of the requirements over all representation, and that's the role of a business analyst, to take special care to maintain the meaning and intent. The BA approach, business analysis approach, may also influence the level of abstraction and choice of models used when defining requirements. Now, who are the stakeholders that participate in this activity? BA do it first by themselves, and after that, any stakeholders he can approach. Then the techniques, there are a lot of techniques, and as you remember, I said when we are talking about the model categories, there I said different categories are there, and different techniques is being used in different categories, and all those techniques is also now available here. Acceptance and evaluation criteria used to represent the acceptance and evaluation criteria attributes of the requirement. Business capability analysis used to represent feature or function of an enterprise. Business model canvas used to describe the rationale for requirements. Business rule analysis used to analyze business rules so that they can be specified and modeled alongside requirements. Concept modeling used to define terms and relationship relevant to the change and the enterprise. Data dictionary used to record details about the data involved in the change. Details may include definition, relationship with other data, origin, format, and usage. So remember, data and info, we have talked about data dictionary, data flow diagram, data modeling, glossary, interface analysis, right? Then we have discussed in models different like root cause analysis. Then in activity flow, we have discussed like user stories, use case scenarios, right? In people and matrices, where stakeholder list, map, or personas, right? So different like organization modeling, we have also seen this one. Organization modeling used to allow business analysts to model the roles, responsibilities, communication within an organization. Process modeling used to show the steps or activities that are performed in the organization or that must be performed to meet the desired change. Prototyping used to assist the stakeholders in visualizing the appearance and capabilities of a planned solution. Roles and permission metrics used to specify and model requirements concerned with the separation of duties among users and external interfaces in utilizing a solution. Then root cause analysis used to model the root causes of problems as part of rationale. Scope modeling used to visually show a scope boundaries. Sequence diagram used to specify and model requirement to show how processes operates and interact with one another in what order. Stakeholder list map or persona used to identify the stakeholders and their characteristics. State modeling used to specify the different state of a part of the solution throughout the life cycle in terms of the events that occur. Use cases and scenarios used to model the desired behavior of a solution by showing user interaction with the solution to achieve a specific goal or accomplish a particular task. User stories used to specify requirements as a brief statement about what people do or need to do when using the solution. All those techniques, but the key for you to learn this is the model categories there, and just associate all those techniques there. We will go in detail for all those techniques in upcoming sessions. So that's it from my end. This is very important knowledge area, and every task in this knowledge area is very important from the examination point of view. Hope you are liking my videos, and you will find the link for the related videos in top here somewhere, and also you will find in the description below. If you are liking my videos, please do comment. If you have any questions and queries, please ask in comment. I'll happy to help you and answer you there. Till I'm creating another video, take care and goodbye.